Mr. Subhashish, you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No, I won't lie. Probably this is a part of career journey, and at some stage you want to take that plunge. So to answer it, I think it evolved over a period of time. In the start of my career, of course, I have been working in different organizations, but at the stage you take that plunge and try to see what all can be worked out.
So that means it is entrepreneurs are not born. Is that a myth that one has to be born an entrepreneur, or can one be trained to be one?
No, absolutely. I think okay, let's break the discussion into manner that there are families where the families are of entrepreneurs, and or there are business families. When the next generation, of course, will want to take those journeys forward. But it is ultimately, I feel it is equally important that how you acquire your learnings over a period, how you acquire your value system. So it is nothing comes at the end of the day through where you were born and or which it gives you a certain amount of mileage in life, but at the end of the day, it's ultimately you need to imbibe those learning, imbibe those value system, and then accordingly you take your career path over a period of time.
Okay.
So that's the way it's navigated, at least in my case.
So there is hope for all of us then.
Absolutely. I mean, there is two ways about it.
Okay. Okay. Himani, should we start then?
Yes, madam, we can go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, Himani, you can start now.
Okay, sir. Am I audible, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Himani Shah, student head of IIC, welcome you all to this year's very first event. My story, a series of motivational sessions by successful innovators. Before we gear up for the event, I would like to introduce the motto of IIC. Institute Innovation Council, that is IIC, is an initiative started by Government of India, which organizes events and seminars that are related to startups, innovation, entrepreneurship, and intellectual property rights. The main aim of the committee is to systematically foster the culture of innovation and build startup ecosystem. In today's event, we will discuss about idea generation and implementation, followed by tips and tricks to overcome challenges and set targeted goals. Before starting the event, I would like to invite Dr. Aarti Prabhu ma'am to enlighten us with a few words. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Himani. Good afternoon, one and all. At the outset, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all present here. It is our first event under IIC 4, and with an inspiring personality like Mr. Subhashish Sarkar with us, it is bound to be a grand success. On behalf of the Institute Innovation Council of BNCP, I welcome you, sir. Many of us have the inbuilt potential to ideate, but usually these brilliant ideas, they make no mark because we just do not know what to do with them. But with the right guidance, these ideas can be turned into successful ventures and business propositions. And as one of the main agendas of the IIC, we have tried to create just such a platform where we can hear from our role models their mantras for success. I encourage all the participants to interact actively with Mr. Sarkar and find the inspiration to make your own success story. Welcome one and all. Over to you, Himani.
Thank you, ma'am, for your precious words of wisdom. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Pramod Kadu, sir, to share his few insights for the event. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Himani. So I would like to welcome Subhashish sir. We are very thankful to have you, sir, today afternoon. And the very concept of idea generation and implementation will be a very thought-provoking idea. And we are looking forward to have discussion on challenges and how to set targeted goals. All these topics, as you know, with people like you with the first-hand experience and students who are listening to as a new comers in this field, they will be really, this will be a very interesting session. So many of our students, they are interested in ideas, and we are looking for experienced people like you who can guide them, help them. So we are looking for a very long-term association with you, sir. And I'm sure students might be eagerly waiting to hear from you. And since we have kept it as a discussion, so as and when required, we'll have a discussion throughout this session. So once again, I welcome you, sir, and over to you, Kripa.
Thank you, sir. Kindly note that the flow of the event is as follows. The event will be split into 2 sessions. Each session will be followed by a Q&A session where the audience can interact with our speaker. The topic for the first session will revolve around the theme idea generation and implementation. In the second session, we shall talk about challenges and how to overcome them and set targeted goals. So now let us kickstart the event by introducing our esteemed and honorable guest and speaker for the day, Mr. Shibashish Sarkar. Sir, it gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome on behalf of IIC BNCP. So, thank you for being a part of this event despite your busy schedule. Sir is India's leading media and entertainment professional and also the chairman and CEO of the SPAC International Media Acquisition Corp. Sir has an experience of over 28 years across the media and entertainment industry. Sir is involved with more than 500 films in his career as a distributor, producer, and studio head. Additionally, he has helped teams that produce more than 90 TV shows and over 10 OTT series. Sir played the former role of Group CEO of Reliance Entertainment, one of the India's leading production houses and a subsidiary of the Reliance Group. Sir is currently the chairman and CEO of IMAC. For his PAC initiative, he has gained support from the who's who of the Indian entertainment industry. These include top directors and actors of India's film industry, including Rohit Shetty, Imtiaz Ali, Ajay Devgan, and many other supporters of the venture, which include producers and media conglomerates such as Bhushan Kumar of T-Series, the Mumbai Movie Studio, etc. Sir is a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, and MBA with specialization in marketing. His past accomplishments include managerial positions at Viacom 18, UTV Disney, Godrej Sara Ali. Sir, now I would request you to speak a few words and if you could elaborate on the SPAC initiative.
Great. Thank you, Kripa, and thank you, Madam and Pramod sir. I think it's a little bit embarrassing and humbling when people talk so much good about some of yourself. Frankly, as when we have been chatting, is that I started my career in a very different background, in a very different value systems. I was born in Calcutta. My education was in Cal. I did my graduation. I did my all the degrees or whatever we say at the starting of the career. See, every student or every kid in a college, they have a certain goal, and I was also pursuing some of my career goals basically in the commerce background, and so I did my CA, costing, company secretary. But frankly speaking, the learning actually starts when you start getting into your job, when you start having your day-to-day experiences. And the most important learning, what I feel in life, like, yes, my first job was 93, so almost like 20 years down the line. The most important thing in life is that how you have taken your decisions in life with utmost honesty and integrity. How you have been able to manage your colleagues, manage the people, and people relationships is probably one of the most important thing in the part of your growth of your career, in whichever sphere you are, whether I mean in any sphere of life, we need to understand one thing, that life is not about a solo journey. Whether you are in your family, whether you are in your in a sports, whether you are in your career, life is always about collaboration, and life is always about teamwork. And there is no successful leader. A leader is only successful if the team works well for him, right? So it is absolutely important that how good or how well you can manage your team, how you can get the best out of your team. There will be good days and there will be bad days. There will be successes and failures. It is impossible in life to think that every time you will be successful. It is not possible. But it is important that after every failure, how one can pick himself up and take the next challenge, and not get completely demotivated and not get completely sunk in about the failures. One should do postmortem. It is important, and yeah, one has to pick himself or herself up from that situation and take the next challenge. Try to think that how to go to the next milestone than thinking that why he or she has failed. Coming back to your specific question, the reason why I'm saying this is the background, is that I have seen, when I look back, I have seen in my own career, in my own journey, probably I have navigated different kind of challenges, different kind of issues, but probably the most of the time when I have been able to navigate the journey over a path, it's basically your belief, it's basically your honesty and integrity in the thought. And if that honesty and integrity in the thought you have been able to imbibe as a culture with your team, with your colleagues, even in the hard days, people will be around you. Coming back to the question, when you said that what was the journey or what was the experience of raising the SPAC, not probably, this will be the first SPAC from India, honestly. So the word SPAC is, the full form is Special Purpose Acquisition Company. It is like a public issue, but it's the public issue which happened in US, in NASDAQ or NYSE. And unlike a normal public issue, if you guys are familiar, you will find that today, like the Paytm's public issue is going on, and etc. In a normal public issue, you always take a company and do an issue. In case of a SPAC, it is basically few individuals who go to the market and raise money based on their credibility. For my case, when we exactly a year back, I think November similar time last year, I was not even aware of this term. The first time I heard this term probably a year back. In US, this concept was there almost like last 20 years, last 30 years, from 90s, this concept is there, and several public issues happened there in this manner. But I learned this thing from one of my boutique investment banker, learned about it for a period of time, was thinking that whether this is an opportunity which we can bring it into India, and or bring it for my company, which I represent. I used to work in Reliance Entertainment for the last 15 years. And then over a period of time, I thought that what stops me as an individual to build a team and try to do the SPAC? There are a lot of challenges, because US SPACs happened is like probably 99% of the SPACs happened by US team members, US guys go to the US market, raise money, and they invest in US companies. That's the protocol. I mean, it's not the law, but that's where the market has been behaving in last 30 years. In this case, we are a set of rookie Indians. I will tell myself rookie because that's the ocean. We are a set of rookie Indians who set up an Indian team. We went to the US and wanted to raise US money, listed the company in US, and want to invest in Indian companies. So it is a completely reverse scenario. Lot of experience, lot of learnings, and in this journey of last 6-8 months, of course, only the first part has been completed. We raised the SPAC successfully in July. The company got listed, and I have another 1 year time to invest those capital in Indian businesses, whichever Indian businesses we look at. But the learning part of the journey is that at the end of the day, if you have a strong story, if you have a strong conviction, and if you believe in your story, that whatever you were saying and you believe in it, probably the investor or probably anyone who is sitting on the other side of the table will buy in your story. Now, first you have to have your conviction that what are you saying? Does it make sense? Do you believe in it? Can you demonstrate that? And yeah, the journey was interesting. I think almost like it took from November last year when I started, and it was like peak COVID. The first wave was just over, and there was already running every organization was its own challenges because everything was under lockdown, especially in our industry, which is media and entertainment industry. I remember 2019 March, it got into 2020 March, it got into a lockdown mode. There was a gap for 2-3 months in between, and again there was a second wave. So it was a very tough journey because you run an organization, there are thousands of people in your organization. There is no business. When I mean no business, is zero business. I'm currently also in a media and entertainment, so cinema houses are closed. You can't release your films. We have been sitting with two large Indian films. One was Suryavanshi and one was 83. And now after 20 months, we released Suryavanshi last week. So it was not an easy journey for an individual, not an easy journey for the employees. You have to take care of the employees because even if there was no revenue, you have to ensure that how they get their salary. It is almost like it is while you work in a company, but it's almost like in a mindset that you are responsible for those families, right? And in the midst of it, I started thinking that, okay, while these are all happening, can I think something new? And probably, I believe in that situation that when your back is against the wall, probably that's the time you try to innovate and you try to think whether something new can be done. Because it all comes with a level of challenges. So between November to July, I think 5-6 months, the other interesting part, I won't say interesting, but other challenges was, you were not allowed to travel, right? So my entire public issue, which I listed the company in US, I couldn't make a single trip to US. I did the entire thing from Bombay, and I have a set of very lot of industry people who came along with me in this journey. Probably I can say with the amount of confidence that probably none of them understood the concept because I was also learning the concept. The concept was absolutely new in India. Even in India, SEBI has not yet allowed it. But they're doing some guideline and paperwork on that. But people probably had a trust on me and the trust of my conviction and the 25 years I have spent in this industry. And that's why even a lot of industry stalwarts, like as you have been mentioning, like all these directors, actors, many people came together in this journey. Then finally, when we went for the roadshow in US, and roadshow in the US means the A-list investors across the globe, right? And there were 3 challenges I was facing. I won't say challenges. I took those challenges as an opportunity, I think. And my banker, lawyers, all of the guys are from New York. And while they were interested in the story, but you are saying that, see, you are selling 3 things. First, you are selling India. That why India as a destination is the most opportunistic destination for an investor to invest. That's point number 1. Point number 2, I have to sell the sector, which is the media and entertainment sector. That why somebody should not invest in Hollywood, but should come and invest in India's media and entertainment industry. And point number 3, probably I have to sell myself. That why I am most equipped. And what is my conviction that I can do the job better than any of the guys who are sitting in the Los Angeles or New York or best of the cities where, if you look at their media and entertainment industry, it is almost 200 years old. Hollywood is 200 years old, matured industry. But probably God has been kind and we have our own convictions. And so we navigated the path. Great learning. And right now I can see that after I did my SPAC, there are at least another 2 or 3 Indian venture capitalists and firms. They are also approaching that journey. So still a long way to go because I have to successfully deploy the investment. I have to give my investors the kind of return they have, the faith on it, but quite an interesting journey. So yeah, so that was my long and short of my journey of the SPAC over the last 6-9 months.
Thank you, sir, for just giving a brief summary of how your career has been. But as you mentioned, due to this pandemic, I am sure like pandemic has affected every sector of the world. So as we know, the world has largely shifted from cinemas and theaters to OTT platforms. So what strategies and tactics have been implemented to tackle the rise of OTT platforms in India, and what did you do to allure back the audiences to the cinematic experience?
Right. So I think before coming to your specific question, I think the first challenge when we face that when the when the India came for a lockdown in the month of March, frankly speaking, I think none of us, I think all of you also, none of us ever thought that it's going to be, the impact will be so much, and it's going to continue for next 2 years or next 3 years, and we don't even know. The first challenge when everything got shut down, and the first thing what we decided among our very senior management team is that we will ensure that none of our employees lose their job. Because the biggest challenge was how to keep your people together. We will ensure that even if we can't pay their normal salary, but we will ensure that some portion of the money should go to their home every month because their requirement of sustenance, right? Every family has their EMI, every family has their education requirement, their sustenance and everything. And there, the biggest challenge, and where I started from there, the biggest challenge is that we used to be a film production company, largely. Reliance Entertainment, if you look at it, Reliance is to large part of my business is to be film, production, distribution, then used to have an animation studio. We also do content for streaming platform, etc., etc. So we understood that making film, either releasing film in cinema halls, it is not possible because cinema halls are shut down. And at the same point of time, even shooting films are not possible because government has done the lockdown and all the shooting floors are locked and you cannot come out of your home and etc. We took at that point of time, I think mid of March when the lockdown happened. In 7 odd days, I think this is something which we did interesting. We have close to that point of time, close to 1,500 people in my animation team. We figured out that animation is something which you may not require to do a physical shooting, right? You are basically working on a set of computer in a layman's word. Of course, those are high-end machines. So we ensured that all my 1,500 odd headcounts, we provided the infrastructure at their home. We ensured the machines are provided at their home. We ensured the bandwidth and Wi-Fi are provided. And the people who went back to their homes spread across the country, but they all work long distance in tandem with each other. So at least one portion of my business, which is animation, creating animation. So if you are familiar, I don't know whether you guys see televisions or not, but it is more kids program. We do many, 3 or 4 successful shows in the kids space. We do one show which is called Little Singham. We took the Singham IP and created an animation show, Little Singham, which ran in Discovery Kids. Then we have a show called Smashing Simba that runs on Cartoon Network. Then there is a show called Golmaal Junior that runs on Nickelodeon. So there are 3 or 4 channels where our shows are run, and we ensured that we are the only company in the country at that point of time. Yes, I can say that with a confidence. We're the only company in the country where we ensured our production supplies are not stalled. So we ensured the content, new and fresh contents reached across every television platform, wherever our animation portion was there. So that was the first thing which we targeted that okay, live action business is not possible, but animation we can get the best output of the people and provide the infrastructure at their home. Exactly in the same manner, we have another segment of business which is gaming, mobile gaming, and we have 100 odd headcounts in Pune, and we have a small team in Chicago. They also, in the same manner, we provided the infrastructure at their home, and even my gaming divisions was operating at that point of time. But the challenge what came is in case of the live action. So if you cannot shoot, whether you are making a content for OTT or whether you are making a content for film, you cannot create the content. Also, what we faced is that very interesting consumer behavior, because people were in a lockdown. There was substantial amount of consumption was happening on the OTT platform. And of course, cinema halls and everything was closed, so there was no films. The films were going direct to digital as a release. If you recall, last year, that point of time, many films went direct to digital. Films like Gulabo Sitabo, films like Lakshmi Bomb, films like I think that Kuli #1. There are many films at point of time went to the film. Surarai Putturu of Tamil film, a lot of films went. But you have to create content because the films which are ready can probably go to the platform. So what we did is that just after the lockdown opened up, I think in the month of July or August, and there was severe restrictions that point of time also. But we formed small teams. Instead of a large team, we formed small teams. and started creating content for the OTTs. OTT as a space, we are always focused on the content creation. The first Netflix show in the country was our show. Sacred Games was our show. We did Sacred Games 1, we did Sacred Games 2. Then in the last year when all these things started, we did a show with the Z called Black Widow. Subsequently, we did another show. The challenge was in shooting, because shooting was extremely difficult because there were a restriction how many people you can keep on the floor. People have to wear their PPE. There has to be an almost like a quasi-medical facility you have to keep in the shooting floor. People have to get tested at every 3 days. Whenever somebody gets tested positive, then you have to do that testing of across the entire team. So it was not only cost, but a lot of challenges. You can't get the output what you would have got a normal situation. But somehow we managed to run the situation when the cinema business was completely shut. But between streaming platform, between animation, and between mobile game, we managed to run the businesses, and we managed to at least keep the wheel rotating in some manner. On an overall basis, just to give some perspective that where the country is headed in terms of content space. So there are two things. One situation, the streaming content for the OTT was definitely on the growth even before the COVID situation. But the COVID situation with people in the lockdown mode, probably that increased the opportunity multiple fold. Just to give you a perspective, if you look at India, in India, there are now close to 40 to 50 odd platforms. And you name them, you have Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, you have all the broadcasters at their platform like a Z5, Sony Live, Star Next, Sun Next. Then you have multiple regional players, like you have Hoichoi in Bengali, like you have AHA in Telugu. Every region has their own stronger players. And India is also a very unique country in the globe. Whenever I used to make this statement that India is like a mini Europe. We have some 25 odd states. We talk in 20-25 odd languages. We have our different cuisines. Culturally, it is almost like a mini Europe. Every state is like a small one country in that space. So the growth opportunities, while there was a significant growth opportunities in the country, and how that opportunity is to be panned out. And if I look at the global players first, and just for a moment, if you just see that how the world has panned out in this space, OTT as a space or streaming as a space has been developing in the West, developing in the Hollywood or US, say for last 20 years, last 15 to 20 years. Netflix became a streaming company sometime around 2006, 2007 post that. Before that, they used to be a video rental company. But in these 15 to 20 years, between the streaming companies and between the television companies, the US market is almost getting saturated because there is a significant amount of growth has already happened there. Most of these companies, which are listed companies there, or then for the next level of growth, they of course then have to look at the global. Now, when you say global, they can go to Europe, they can come to Asia, or they can look at Africa as a continent. If you look at the large pieces of journey, Africa, of course, there is the infrastructure is not there, purchasing power is not there. They went to Europe. Most of the global companies went to Europe. And Europe, there was a definite amount of decent purchasing power. But the fact is, Europe's population is less. So once you cover North America, you come to Europe, your next level of aspiration of the growth or a global growth has to happen through Asia. Now, when you come to Asia, the largest one, or largest in the sense the most developed one, in China, none of the global companies are allowed to operate. So all the global players like Netflix, Amazon, Disney of the world, they're all banned. So you can't, they have their local companies, they have their Tencent, they have their Alibaba, they have Baidu, I mean, all the local players are there. But none of the global players are allowed to operate in China. So any global company had no other option in this space but to come to India. Because 130 crore population, a population out of which almost 2/3 of the population, or 60-65% of the population are less than 35 years of age, a decent purchasing power capacity of the country, a country where the data cost is virtually negligible or nil from a global perspective. We pay not more than 8 cents, 9 cents per GB as a data cost. So it's a cocktail of opportunity that where you have to go and take this consumer and celebrate this consumer and own up this consumer. So the global players started looking at India, and now if you look at it, already the three top players are already there, which is Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus. HBO Max has already set up their team, so HBO Max will be launching very soon. Apple has set up their team, so Apple will be launching very soon. And then you have the host of the broadcaster players like a Sony Live and Hoot of Viacom, and etc. So there is a probably few thousands of crores are getting invested in the India market from the content space in this place. And when I mean that content, that this space is getting interesting, this is virtually becoming in some way, the IPL of Indian cricket. What happened for IPL for Indian cricket, the same thing is happening to streaming platforms. Because it is not only a question of consuming, because once they came to India, they started investing, they figured out Indian consumers want their local content. Yes, I also love a Narcos or Money Heist or Fauda or any of these series, but at the same time, I want to see my Mirzapur, I want to see my Sacred Games, I want to see my Family Man. So you have to make content locally. You have to make content locally, you have to get your local talent. So whether it is actors, whether it is writers, whether it is directors, whether it is choreographer, a huge significant level of talent start getting new work. So the industry, which was like a dormant, I mean, I'm talking of the between television to streaming, we just saw imploding and exploding at the same point of time. So a significant growth opportunity has happened. The reverse cycle, what is happening now, and which is interesting and which we are celebrating the situation, is that now Indian storytellers are taking their content globally because the medium is very democratic. It is more democratic than a cinema hall, right? Now, if you think for a moment, and it is language agnostic, we don't care in whichever languages, so long as subtitle is there, you see our content, right? Among like one of our best of our content, as I mentioned, like with all these Narcos, Fauda, or Money Heist of the world, none of them are English content. Something is Spanish, something in Israel, something is Chinese, Korean, different languages content are coming. So exactly in the same way, Indian content starts going outside the country. So now the Indian storytellers or Indian directors are finding another level of opportunity of taking their content outside. So I think next 15 to 20 years, it will be a great space. For one hand, there will be consumption of content, consumer will take their content from the platform and enjoy. And on the other hand, the spectacle of the movie is still celebrated in space. As I mean, while it's our own film, but as we are seeing the celebration of Suryavanshi, which is happening almost after 2 years, and all the cinemas are going houseful. So for content business, media and entertainment space, I think they're very interesting time.
Yeah, definitely, sir. For example, like even Parasite was like a movie which is not so English, but it won the Oscar. So
yeah, it's basically a Korean film which went on to get into an Oscar. So now it is language agnostic. Nobody cares at what language is. The story has to touch your heart, and then it gets its audience.
So last question for this session is so the thought of actually becoming an entrepreneur and actually reaching that goal is that same distance that is of the sun and the sea at the horizon. So what are the steps that would actually bring us closer to being an entrepreneur? What according to you are the steps that are involved from from idea generation to its implementation?
So, okay, now let me tell you something. There is nothing as that you can take steps to follow to be an entrepreneur. Let me give you the broad guidelines. I mean, there is nothing as one can be taught that what you should do to be an entrepreneur. But there are certain value system and culturally certain learnings which should be there, which allow you to take that journey. In my own case, I was never an entrepreneur. I always 25, 28 years of my career, I have worked in different jobs. And at some stage of my career, probably now last 1 year, I have thought that, okay, fine, let me take this plunge now. And there are, I mean, if we look at today, there are kids which are at 25, 28, at the young age, they are taking different opportunities in life. As culturally, if you say that what are the things one should take, the entrepreneurial role, the first thing comes is that it comes with its risk and reward. So if as a value system, if an individual is open to that thought process, that there will be challenges in my life, but I'm happy to take those challenges in the life, and there will be risk and reward associated with it. I think that is the first one level of value system one should have. Second, in the most cases of entrepreneur, I think in many cases we have seen that people probably are not used to that a 9-to-5 kind of job role, or not happy with a certain role profile given to that okay, this is the role profile you have to work. Systems and processes are important, but they don't want to get probably bound by that in the life. Now, the way that journey is the first one, the foremost important, that are you okay to look at an opportunity and look at an idea, and are you okay to take your punt on that idea, whether that punt makes sense or not, in whichever sphere of business and organizations you are, whether it is an FMCG business or whether it's a media business or whether it is a white good business. Every business opportunity, every business sense, there are certain opportunities which comes in as a part of it. I'll give you an example, which is not necessarily will probably answer your question, but very early in my career, almost 20 years, 22, 23 years back, I used to work in those days, I used to work in FMCG, I used to work in Godrej. And I spent almost a long part of my, 6 years I was in Godrej consumer products. So basically the soap and household insecticide, like all this Good Night and etc. I used to be part of that company. In those days, I'm talking of the late 90s, early 2000s, there's a very interesting culture which Godrej Group used to imbibe among their employees. There's a concept called Kaizen. Kaizen is basically a Japanese concept where what we used to do, suppose we used to have some 1,000 odd employees, I'm just saying a number, Godrej employees are much more. Every week, every employee in a pre-decided form, which is not a very complicated form, but in a pre-decided form, they have to write 3 things which they have done new, or which they have done something innovative in that particular week. Believe me, all of us in our day-to-day work, we do certain things in life every day, which is not routine, which is not monotonous, which is something new. We either solve a problem, we either do something to get some saving. Even in your family life, even in your office life, or even smallest things in life, you on a day-to-day basis, we do something which is different, and we do something different to create something, to get something positive out of it. Not necessarily only in money terms. Something can give you more happiness. Somebody say, okay, I started now jogging and I'm getting more healthy. Somebody may say, okay, I have spent more time with my family and I'm happy that I'm getting more family time. Or something had done in their job. What it did almost to, and it used to be a lot of resistance, because if I ask you, you think through last 1 week, what you have done, you tell me 3 things what you have done new. It is tough, but you have to start thinking that what I have done new, anything which I have done as saving, anything which I have done given a better way of life or something like that. But Adi Godrej, the chairman, insisted, and there used to be a separate department who used to take from every employee. The employees have to submit. The best Kaizens used to get rewarded. The top 10 Kaizens used to be put up on a wall and everybody used to read. Over a period of 3 to 6 months, the company started getting really good input from the employees. Really innovative idea from the employees. Subsequently, next year, while we continued with the culture of the Kaizen, in the next year, we formed a young group among the entire organization across different fields. And we picked up, when I say we, means basically I was one of those young groups. We call it a red group and a blue group. Across different functions, somebody finance, somebody manufacturing, somebody marketing guy, and all from from the B schools. And we gave them, and we were given at that point of time, 2 groups, 3 months time, find out the new business line what Godrej should take, apart from whatever the business lines they have been doing. And in those 3 months, you can take the mentorship from the managing director, CFO, production head, marketing head, you can go across to everyone. take their ideas, brainstorm, create your business plan, that what are the new lines of business you should do. And I'm proud to say it is now 20 years down the line. That point of time, almost out of our many ideas, that point of time, one idea which is they started a new line, and currently I don't know if it's still under Godrej or they have sold it of that business. They started the household insecticide maintenance business, Godrej High Care. They launched a brand called Godrej High Care. At the same point of time, we also remember that for the rural market, we launched mosquito coil, which are of a smaller size and cheaper packets and etc. In the shampoos, we launched the sachet packets, which are like that 1 rupee packet and 2 rupee packets. The point why I'm saying here is that you don't need to, I mean, you can't guide yourself that, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, so what I need to do. In your day-to-day life, in your everyday objective, start documenting, start culturing. The first couple of value system has to be there. Are you interested to do a 9 to 10, 9 to 5 job, or are you interested to run your own operation? It will have its own risk and reward. The risks are more. If there are 100 entrepreneurs we see are successful, probably 10,000 have failed. We only see the success stories and get excited about it, but there are 10,000 probably have failed. If one needs to take that journey, people should be always open to take any new ideas at any point of time and test that idea. Whether that idea is for a business, idea for a value system, idea for your social life, cultural life, sports, anything in life, right? So those are the basic ecosystems in which one gets the grooming, right? You can't do a training of entrepreneurship. I'll do a training, but people help and people groom. That are you open to thinking? Are you open to listening? I think the most important part in today's world is that people stop listening after a point, because as a boss, I'm probably only inclined to hear what is the answer I'm interested to hear. But are you open? Are you democratic enough? Are you opening up the forum to the junior most guy into the system to throw an idea? And if the good idea, get that and not necessarily follow the hierarchy. So certain cultures you have to build in. And even when you guys go into your career, whether you want to start as an entrepreneur, you want to start 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, it's completely up to you. You have to feel excited about it. If you're not feeling excited about it, don't take that. It has to give you that high that, okay, I'm taking this journey. It has its own challenges. There are more number of times I will fail, but after every failure, I'll be able to pick up, correct myself and take the next one. Those are the basic structure or basic systems, which I'll say. At the same time, I'll say not necessarily that everybody has to be an entrepreneur to be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur even in your job. You can be an entrepreneur even on the day-to-day thing, what you are doing. You can innovate something and you can create something new, and you can create a great values for your organization. Even you don't need to be like that. I'm running my own business and I want to create the value system only for my organization. Not required. I mean, not necessarily that everybody has to take that same point or the same jump, but always keep your mind open for a thought. Don't necessarily take the thought, only follow based on the hierarchy. Whether you're senior, whether junior, your colleagues, the smallest guy in the ecosystem, give you some ideas, take that idea and see that whether that idea can be duplicated, can be replicated in some other places or not. So I will probably leave that thought as there. There is no stereotype thought process you can follow that these are the things I should do to be a good entrepreneur.
Thank you, sir. That was really it was like diving into an ocean of new things like that. Especially the Kaizen thing was really new for us. So we'll try to inculcate that. So now moving on to the question answer session, in which the students have asked the questions in the chat box. So I'll be reading them out for you. So someone has asked about blank check companies from retail investors' perspective. What is the thing investors can look into before investing in it? Is it the management or the size of the issue because of which they can't have any fundamental analysis or knowledge about the company that they're investing in?
The investors have to look into the people, because since you are looking at a blank check company, that's the why they use the word blank check. Because in a blank check company, you don't have an underlying asset, you don't have the underlying business, but you are putting your fund, and I'm talking as wearing an investor's hat, that you are a retail investor. They are basically putting your hat based on the credibility of the people, the kind of people who are in the board, the kind of people who are the promoter, what are their background, what are their level of confidence. And also, of course, every retail investor looks at it that whether this team is able to get the large funds or some kind of when I mean a large fund, you get a respected name like a BlackRock, Blackstone, or Capos, or somebody investing in your company. So retail investors also get a certain level of confidence that okay, if the big guys are investing, that means there's a certain level of diligence happen. But to answer your question in one word, in a blank check company, you can only put your faith on the people, on the face of the people, and on their background and credibility check and the diligence check. That's the only way you can judge. And of course, you have to look at what is the story he's saying and how exciting is that story, and what all areas he want to invest, and if those investment are opportunities enough or not.
So I hope that answered Ayush's question. And the next question is, it's asked by Gaurav. So he is asking that there is a headline on OTT regulation. So does the production house find this as an opportunity to replace OTT with the cinema?
So I think let me divide it into two parts. I think it's not that OTT regulation will drive a producer to think how he want to change his business model. So there are these are two separate things. So let me talk of the regulation part first. So in India, for the longest period of time, the OTT space was unregulated. But in the last 1 year time, the government has worked on it. They came up with a guideline. So while there is no censorship as formed, but the industry was allowed to form their own some kind of a self-regulation, but in the 3-tier journey. And the contents which will come out will have a certain level of regulation, if not a censorship. So yes, there are two schools of theory. One school of theory is that, okay, as a storyteller or the creator, we had a certain freedom, and that freedom is being taken away, and whether the stories will be interesting or not. The other school of theory, probably they feel that, okay, if there is a certain level of regulation, probably my life is a bit easier, because at least after the story being told, after the passing through the regulation, at least I'll not get some fringe element coming out from somewhere of the country and making a protest and issues out of it. So I think currently, as the country stands now, the regulation, the guideline has come, and most of the producers have started accepting that guideline as a process to tell their stories in the OTT. In case of cinema, the censorship was there from the historically all along, and it was a very well organized, mechanized system. And anything which comes on the bigger screen or anything which comes on the television or the film also has to go through the censorship. So I don't think a producer from a mindset of storytelling changes that whether one should do a cinema or a OTT based on is there a guideline or not. It is the hunger of a storyteller that what kind of story you want to say. Is it a long format story? Is it a short format story? And then take the call accordingly. So that's probably my perspective on the issue.
Yeah, so basically, like, it does not depend upon the form that they want to present it. If it is a good story, you release it in any format, it has to do wonders.
Right.
And so we'll be taking the last question for this question answer session. So Yasin has asked that he wants to start a startup, but he's really confused on how to think about a perfect product or service which is needed by the consumer. So what should be an ideal process of generating ideas?
So first you need to ask the question yourself that why you want to start a startup. Something must be exciting you. Something must be telling you that, okay, I want to do a startup because I don't want to work under a very structured system, the rules and regulation, the 9-to-5 jobs. So something must be telling you that I want to do a startup. It's not that, okay, we see cricket, not that everybody wants to be a cricketer. Some guys want to be a cricketer, but other guys may go and enjoy cricket. Now, coming back to a question, the first and foremost thing, in case of a startup or starting any other businesses, etc., is that you have to find the consumer gap. It can be a service business, it can be a product business, it can be a media business, it can be from anything. But what is that consumer gap which you think you want to, you can create, and you can create a better consumer experience, because consumer is God. In today's world, audience is God, consumer is God. The last guy who is consuming whether your physical goods or your content or anything. He's the decision maker. Now, when you say that, okay, I want to start up in that entire chain from a consumer to till the end, from a manufacturer, in that end, you need to think that what are the areas. First, you have to find out that what are your own skill sets. Let's take an example that I have probably spent 20 years in my career in a media entertainment, and I have got trained in that space. But probably tomorrow I have a calling that, okay, I want to do a startup in education space. Can it happen? It can happen, but I need to train myself, right? So first and foremost thing is that you need to understand that what are your strengths and weaknesses. If you are an individual, you need to understand that what are your knack, what does excite you, what are the things you like to do. It can be sports, it can be entertainment, it can be manufacturing ideas, it can be anything, or it can be like a service idea, anything. What is that which excites you? Never choose a thing just for the sake of choosing a thing if it does not excite you. If it does not excite you, then it's doomed even after going whatever phase it has to go. So first you think that what are your own skill set. Next you think that what does it excite you. Sometimes it may happen your skill set and excitement are two different places. That also many times happen. I have seen IIT IIM graduates becoming a scriptwriter. Nitesh Tiwari is a very respected director who did Chichorian, etc. He's basically an IIM. So probably he learned, he does his academic understanding and learning, and then later on find his calling is something in creative world. So find out that what are your strengths. Also find out in the same space that what does it excite you. Between these two, then you have to figure out that, okay, this is the space which excites me, and I have certain strengths in that. Even if you don't have the strength, but some space excites you, go back and take those training and get that learning, and then find out in that space what do you feel is a gap. Don't be the 5th player, 6th player, 10th player in a segment. There is no point that unless you do some value addition in a place, why your startup will be accepted, recognized, loved by people, right? So I'm talking in a very general term, but the reason I'm saying is that first you need to figure out that आपको startup करना है, क्यों करना है? Because आपको 9 to 5 का काम नहीं करना. Fair enough. Then what are your strengths? You have to know that are you an engineer? Are you a chartered accountant? Are you a graduate? Are you from the medical fraternity? Whichever learning you have done, that's absolutely fine. Then you question yourself, does that excite you or not? You may be a doctor, but it may not be exciting you. You need to find out what does it excite you. And if you want to do a startup in an area, what it excites you, do you have the basic learnings or not? Then go and find out that what are the gaps that place can be there.
Yes, so that other things that we'll definitely keep in mind. If, for example, even if I have to start something, I'll definitely keep them in mind. So now moving on to the second session, which revolves around the topic, how to overcome challenges and set targeted goals. So for that, the first question that we have is, sir, owing to your profession, there might be times where you would have been under immense pressure while taking tough calls. So how did you take decisions at that moment and still manage to keep your calm?
So yeah, I think probably there are, I mean, by nature, there are probably some people who keep their calm. But let's look at a situation. We have seen even in our families, even in our schools and colleges, we have seen among our teachers, there are teachers we tell ourselves, अच्छा, sir ने बहुत गुस्सा करता है, and there are some teachers उतना नहीं करते हैं, right? So there will be difference like that. But keep that part aside. When you come into your work field, whether it is your own company or you're working in different companies, there are a couple of things which will always challenge you. One, there will be a requirement of multitasking. At the same point of time, you will be faced with 20 problems. There will not be one problem at a time. You will not get that liberty. And secondly, the people who are more successful, probably, I mean, they are probably more successful because they are able to keep their calm and they probably navigate the problems in the situation. So first and foremost situation in that when one faces challenges and when one faces multiple issues popping up at the same point of time, you have to prioritize your problem. If you have to think through that there are 10 problems on your table on one fine morning, You have to think through that. What is the problem exigency now? What I can take 2 hours down the line? What I can take 1 week down the line? It won't happen that all the 10 things are important and seeking your attention at the same point of time. Number one. Number two, when you are looking at your problems and when you have to see how you have to navigate, you also have to understand, is there anything which I can delegate? Do I have a team? Is that everything I have to handle myself? Or I have a set of teams or colleagues where I can brief them and they can probably take some level of the problem. That's the reason when I started, I said it's a team game. Organization and life is basically a team game. You can't play solo, right? And there are days or there are times when it will come that probably everything is going wrong. Whatever you want to do, everything is going wrong. And there are days, I mean, it is not like I mean, people follow a lot of stuff, good days, bad days, superstitions, and etc. But the fact of life, there will be days when every decision is going wrong. Everything in the outside world seems to be against you in the situation. At some stage, you have to think that you are giving your best shot and don't look for the result. At some level in the problems, when the problems are overwhelming or it is like almost nothing can be solved, you have to think that I am giving my honest best shot to solve it. Even if it does not get solved, even if you are not getting the optimum result, you have been honest in your mind that I have given the best shot. It is still not happened. I'll take it up again tomorrow. I'll take it up again 2 hours down the line or 4 hours down the line, or I will discuss with my team. Maybe someone else have a better solution. If one start getting hassled, if one start getting rattled, and it happens to all of us, it happens to me some point of time, it happens to all of us at a different degree of problem. Maybe all problem, maybe 5 years back, the kind of problems what used to rattle me up, probably those problems I don't find an issue today, but there may be a different set of problems which rattle me up today. But I think in your question itself, you have answered this, that if you start losing your cool or calm and getting angry about it, probably everything will go wrong. So choose your problem, choose your battle. You don't have to fight all the battle on the same time at the same day. Find if something can be delegated. So at least you are not collapsed with everything coming onto your table. Even after giving the best shot, if something is not happening, you have achieved something. Don't think that is a failure. You probably will take up the problem again next day at the stage where it has failed and not from the zero. So at some point of time, you also have to pat your own back and say, okay, fine, I have done something. We'll take it up again tomorrow, and don't get hassled or rattled by the failure. That's the only way you can navigate, because life will not be a bed of roses. Life, there will be challenges, and life will fail more number of times than you are successful. So you have to only live up to the situation that when I have failed, how do I navigate the journey on a better day?
Oh, yes, sir. And coming ahead with the last question of the session, so there might have been like in your whole career, there might have been various challenges. So what is the challenge that according to you is the biggest hurdle, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I think, yeah, there are many challenges. I think the biggest challenge probably, as I can see now, probably the last 2 years. Because see, when you say challenges and how we can overcome, there are challenges, there are business challenges which are known, right? You have to make a great product, consumer has to come, you have to make a great film, your story has to be great. You have to make suppose even in an FMCG world, you have to make a great product to achieve a certain sales number every month. So these are the different challenges which is a part of the job. But when an uncertainty is not known, that how much it can be uncertain and how you navigate an uncertainty, those challenges are not only in the work front, but in your family front, your culturally, socially, mentally, it can completely wipe you out. So frankly speaking, I think last couple of years have been a lot of challenges so far as I am concerned, and for many one of us actually. As a entire generation, we have never faced something like that in last from my birth in last. We have never seen a days like that. It can be so much uncertain. But as a country, as a society, as an individual, I think all of us have navigated. I mean, that path. Students like you, I'm sure that last 1.5, 2 years, most of the time probably it was online and probably schools and colleges were shut down. I've seen in my kids, people are they've all studied from home, so it was not an easy task. But as a society or as an ecosystem, we have navigated the path. A lot of people have lost a lot of stuff, life, death, and a lot of things have happened. Health challenges. I myself have gone through hospital and all this stuff during COVID. But yeah, you take your fight to another day. So I think as a society, as a country, as individuals, we have all fought these challenges. That's why we are having the discussion today. But in my journey of last 40, 50 years, if I look at it, I think probably the biggest challenge was the last 1.5, 2 years, not only from a business front, but from every front of life. But I think as I answered you, the last question is that you have to keep on hanging. When even when you are becoming an entrepreneur, or even when you are on your own, or even as a society, nothing you cannot you don't know what is there tomorrow. You have to keep on trying and keep on hanging, and a better time will come. It will not come on its own. You have to walk towards that path, but you can't lose hope. If you lose hope, then everything is lost. You have to find out every day is a new challenge, and every day you have to find out what we will do tomorrow. So yeah, I think the last couple of years was the most challenging for the concerned.
Yes, that we all agree on that. So that last 1 year has been 1.5 years has been challenging for everyone. So now moving on to the question answer session. But before we move on to that, I would request Pramod Kadu sir if he has any questions, or it's all over to you.
Thank you very much, Kripa. So, sir, it was very interesting session. So, I have many things to share with you, and I have written down few points to summarize the things that you have really put it into simple words. So, as I said, I mean, there are many students who come and ask us about how to go ahead about the ideas which they have and to start with something new. So as you said, like simple thing is identifying the consumer gaps in whichever field you are. Second thing you said value addition. Third thing you said multitasking. To correlate this to, I was just thinking, since you were from a CA background and additionally MBA, so that itself like tells us that you have been through different exposure you have got, and then you have made a nice output of that. And then you said rightly, and this is a big lesson for teachers as well as the students, those who are learning, that you need to give your best, honest, best thing in whatever you do to get the output. And then students were asking that problem solving and critical thinking. So you said that you prioritize your problems, to take up one thing at a time. You see how you can navigate, delegate some of the things to other people who can help you out. And the last thing that you said is don't lose hope. So that's really wonderful thing, and I would like to really congratulate you for the commendable thing that you said, that you got funding for your venture during the lockdown period without visiting states. So it's really what to say, inspirational story for not only the teachers but students as well, because we need to look for some inspiration, and your thoughts are really on the same direction. So going ahead with this, I have a small question, sir. As we were talking about ideas and you have explained the things in a very meaningful way. So for any individual, let it be teacher or any student, if he has an idea, how to go about finding an investor or getting funding for the project?
So fortunately, if we like, even in I mean, the world which we are seeing now has become more democratic, and opportunities are much more vis-a-vis say 20 years back, 30 years back. Suppose if even a student or a teacher or whoever it is, suppose an individual has an idea, the first and foremost thing is that one needs to test out the idea with at least few colleagues or friends. I'm assuming that it's not a solo journey, but probably one will get few friends, few colleagues will test out that idea. And if it is great, if they think they're confident of the idea, there are several forums or several investor groups in most of the major cities. Like even if you look at Bombay, there are Mumbai angel investors. Similarly, like there in Chennai, so there are angel investors and there are group of angel investors where people go from a funding of even probably 50,000 rupees to few lakh rupees to few crore of rupees. So if people have an idea, there are the forums which are all they're all investors. When I say they're not only investors in form of money, but they're all accomplished individuals in their sphere of life. So somebody is an entrepreneur, somebody is a top CEO of a company, and etc. So when you go and present an idea, it also gets vetted in some manner that what all is lacking or what all, okay, it is already a good idea and what all needs to be done. So it is not only the money, but they also somewhere mentor and champion those cases to take it forward. And so many startups, I mean, so many startup ecosystems are there in most of the major cities in the country. So that's something is existing today. Every major city, whether you look at Delhi or you look at Bombay, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, most of the major cities, you have group of investors, group of angel investors, where people can formally pitch their ideas, and then based on the merit, they take it forward. I'm taking at a very basic level when there's a first idea and want to start a startup. Of course, then there are sections of people when you raise money, suppose your first round has already been raised, and then you are looking at whether to take the second round and third round, then the question of you get your bankers and you go to the larger fund, larger VCs, PE funds, and etc. But at the basic level or the first level, there is an established ecosystem in the country.
Right. Very good. Thank you, sir. So one last thing I would like to ask. So it is said that network is equal to net worth. So can you throw light on this, the role of the network that we have at whatever level we have, how it plays a role in our success and the achievements that we have?
It's important, and I completely agree with you, Pramod sir, that it is extremely important that what is your ecosystem, and that ecosystem is your network, and through the network you get your basic thought processes validated. You get your people who support by you during the situation, and sometimes you go ahead in the same network and support others. So I completely agree with you. The network is very important, and many of us who thrive at a certain part of our career, we thrive because of the kind of networks which we develop over a period of 20 years, 30 years. At the same point of time, taking help from others, as well as same point of time giving a helping hand to others when we think it is required. That's extremely important.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving time and having such a wonderful session. And we look forward to having many such sessions with you with specific objectives, and we make sure that we come up with some really fruitful thing. Yes, over to you, Kripa.
Thank you, sir. Sir, so moving on to the question answer session, in which we have Gaurav is asking this question: how do you challenge yourself to achieve your goal, and what is your mantra?
I'll give you the answer in a different way. 2 years back, or forget about the 2 years back, in my entire, I'm a 72 born, I'm almost like 50 years old, 49, 50 years old. In my entire life, I used to I used to be regular in gym and gymming and swimming and etc. Not with some particular goals, but I never used to run. I mean, that's not something which used to excite me. 2 years back, when the entire country got into a lockdown, and none of us are allowed, all the gyms and everything was closed. The only thing was allowed that you can walk in your society. That also used to be published, people not used to allow. So walking used to be boring. So I started developing a habit of jogging, and then started developing a habit of running. And now in last 18-20 months, I think I probably, on an average, every month I run between 100 to 200 kilometers. I mean, every day I run at least a 10 kilometer, 12 kilometer a day, whichever day in the week I get a chance. Coming back to your question that how do you challenge yourself? You are running in your life, you are running, right? So at some stage you will feel like stopping. At some stage you will feel like, okay, aaj chhod dete. But if you have a particular goal to achieve, you just push yourself that, okay, if I have a goal to achieve that I'll run 10 kilometers today, or I will do it in 1 hour, 15 minutes, you just push yourself to achieve this. First, figure out your goal. If you figure out your goal, and goals again will not be written somewhere, it is whatever is the calling of your heart, whatever want to be, whatever aspire you or inspire you, right? whatever is your, and the goal can be very short-term goal. The goal not necessarily has to be a long-term goal. The goal can be that in a next 2 weeks what you want to do, or the goal can be after 6 months what you want to do. It is not necessarily that okay, I want to be a doctor or engineer, or I want to be XYZ in a company. It can be a short-term goal. Whatever is your goal, identify your goal and push yourself to achieve that. You'll be able to achieve that. There's nothing. I think most of the time we get lost because we are not sure of our goals. If you can identify what, and it is easier said than done. I mean, don't think I'm taking so many, I'm talking so much that I am always successfully identify my own objective in life. I'm not. But I figured out that whenever you have a very clear idea of your objective, you'll be able to achieve that, and you'll push yourself to achieve that.
Sure, so we'll keep this in mind that we are supposed to have a clear objective of what we are going to do ahead. So this was the Q&A session, and now over to you, Mihir.
Yes. Dhwani, can you share the slide?
Yes, just a second.
On behalf of IIC BNCP, I would like to present a token of appreciation to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the first thing which I should say is that I really love this session. Not love this session because I have been speaking here, but I love this session because I got an opportunity to speak. I also in my career or in my journey, I have spent the days what you guys have gone through or going through. It always freshen my mind, my energy. And when I see the energy of kids like you with so much of energy to achieve something, I mean, and I probably miss those days. I miss my college days and I miss my school days of the world. And that's why I always get an inspiration or aspiration when I meet with the people, especially with the students. So thank you so much, and thanks to all of you for giving me this opportunity. I don't know how much meaningful it is because it was probably more extempore and probably the more a thought process what I believed and I spoke candidly. But I really thanks all of you to give me this opportunity and to talk about it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sivashish. Sorry, I'm just barging in. But
Sure,
thank you so much. It was indeed very motivational. I mean, we've set out to have a session. We wanted to hear a motivational speaker. So we got a pearls of wisdom, multiple pearls of wisdom on the entrepreneurship front. But also, I mean, what I got from you is, if you're passionate about it, go ahead with it. So it should come from the heart. And the second wisdom that I've got is collaborate. I mean, without that, you cannot go forward. So it was indeed our privilege. And I mean, as Pramod said, we really look forward to many more such sessions with you, probably on different aspects, but we would like to keep in touch with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. And thank you, Pramod sir. And thanks to all of you, Kripa and every one of you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
So we show immense gratitude for taking out your precious time from your schedule to impart valuable information about idea generation and implementation. We also thank you for giving us an insight on how to overcome challenges and set targeted goals. We look forward to follow your path of success. We would like to end the session by requesting everyone to fill the feedback forms. Thank you to our Aarti ma'am, Tadu sir and Sandeep sir for gracing this session with your presence. Finally, I would like to thank our audience for being an active part of the session. IIC BNCP will continue to bring such enticing events in the upcoming academic year. We hope you had a good time. Stay indoors and keep thinking out of the box. Thank you.
Yeah, we will take one group photo, Mihir.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I request all participants to please switch on your cameras so that we will get privileged to have a pic with Shibashish sir. Mihir, will you please take screenshots at your end?
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I'm facing some issue. Hardi, can you take the screenshot?
Yes, yes.
I think all can take, and then you can share it.
Yes, yes.
Whoever can take, please take various angles. Okay.
Okay, I have taken a couple of pics. Hardi, have you taken?
Yes, I have taken two.
Okay, all right, all right. So thank you very much, Shivashish sir,
Thank you.
and all the participants. See you in our next session of IIC.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.